Hey, welcome to this week's episode of One More Voice. My guest this week is Ellen, and what you're listening to now is an actual re-recording of the beginning of that interview. We had some issues with the wind making noise throughout the interview, and I did the best I could to edit those out. And throughout the interview, you'll hear a couple spots where the wind might make it hard to hear, but I didn't think it was disruptive enough to worry about. But the beginning, it got pretty loud, so I decided to re-record it. I had Ellen on because Ellen's linked to my first podcast guest, Shane. Shane was the medicine server at an ayahuasca ceremony that I'd gone to a couple years ago, and it was Ellen who put me in contact with him. And Ellen actually turned out to be the person, part of a couple who hosts these retreats on their land. And it's kind of an interesting story how I met Ellen. There were a few God winks in there, some breadcrumbs I thought that were kind of signaling, hey, this is a path that you should go down and you should pursue. And what happened there was my wife, before I met Ellen, Shane, anyone, my wife did a pretty intensive parasite cleanse. It was 10 days of a very strict diet and tinctures, binders, giving yourself enemas, things like that. So when the 10 days were over, she was pretty set on getting a colonic, a deeper cleanse of her colon. And we didn't have anybody around where we live to do that. So she was searching for someone, a therapist who could administer this colonic, and was having trouble doing it. But she didn't give up, and she found someone just outside of St. Louis who had an opening, and it happened to be on my wife's birthday. So for us, that was our first little God wink. And we choose to look at these things as synchronicities and God winks. If there's a little coincidence like, oh yeah, there is one opening and it happens to be on your birthday, even if it's just for the fun of it, we decide to look at that as there's spirit giving you a little wink. And so she booked that appointment just outside of St. Louis, and then asked me, hey, do you want to go with me? How's work going? Because I work for myself, and I did happen to actually be in a position where, yeah, I could take this day off and go with you, and we'll make a day of it outside the city, or maybe go into St. Louis. So we'd gone down there and got to her office, Ellen's office, to do this. And when we got in to the office, as my wife's checking in and filling out forms, I noticed a book on the coffee table, and this would be a second God wink, this one for me. The book was called Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz, and I got to flipping through the pages and saw that this book was about the concept of us as souls choosing to be here, choosing to incarnate for certain reasons, and not only that, that we would incarnate with other souls in our soul group repeatedly. A lot of times when you look into the near-death experience and listen to some channels speak and read books like this one and books like the ones written by Michael Newton, you see that a lot of the people throughout our life are the same souls that we incarnate with throughout other lifetimes. Not always exactly the same, but a lot of times those people close to us, whether they're friends or family members, these are souls we've incarnated with multiple times in order to play out these dramas to expand ourselves and expand the universe and expand God through our experiences. But at least for me at this time, that's a very specific concept that I didn't talk to a lot of people about. To me, that was don't want to call it religion because there wasn't really a practice based around it, but that was my worldview, my model for how things worked in terms of why we're here as humans and what we're doing. And it was very specific, and I didn't bring it up to a lot of people unless I kind of read the room or read the interaction and thought it would be something good to bring up and have a conversation about. But in the office, the book was just laying right there. So that was a God wink to me because that's not something that came up a ton. And here we have this person, Ellen, who has this book on her coffee table. So I'm thinking, okay, we're probably in the right place here, you know? So I just kind of kept that in mind. We go back into the therapy room, and she's administering the colonic on my wife, and I, I sh- I guess I should back up. And when she's doing that, she asks if it's okay to burn some sage. I believe it was sage. It could have been something else, but I thought that was interesting. We're here for a physical procedure, and she's tying this energetic, spiritual aspect into it, you know, cleaning the space, cleaning the room to get, you know, more of a holistic cleansing going on here. And also asked if she could play a gong, use a little sound therapy while we're at it. And I appreciated that. I thought that's cool because, you know, I believe in that sort of thing. So I brought up to Ellen the book. Actually, I asked her if I could bring the book back because I thought we're going to be in here for about an hour. I'll just read this book while we're doing the colonic. And through the conversation of that book, we got to talking and about our beliefs and values. And she asked if we'd ever been if we're open to plant medicines, if we'd ever heard of plant medicines. And usually when I hear the phrase plant medicine, I specifically, for whatever reason, I associated it with ayahuasca. I know that there are other plant medicines, and I said that to her. I'm like, are you talking about ayahuasca? And she said, yeah. We're going to host a retreat in June. This is late April when this is happening, but we're going to host a retreat in June if you're interested. And I'm like, absolutely. I had been semi-obsessed with ayahuasca for 20 years, ever since I'd heard Terrence McKenna talk about it back in, say, 2004 or something, and had always been interested in finding a way to experience that type of ceremony. And now here me on a whim, coming to this colonic on my wife's birthday, run into someone who not only knows how to put me in touch with uh, a retreat where I can experience this. She hosts the retreat. So it was just very interesting to me how it all came together without any effort when the time was right that I would run into Ellen and be able to have this experience. So then I'd gone to the retreat and was able to talk to her on a more personal level. And that's actually why I wanted to interview Ellen. Yes, we are going to talk about plant medicine and what she does at the retreats, but her personal life story is also a very interesting story of a soul that's unfolding, and the things that she'd gone through throughout her life to come to this unique I call it her occupation. It's not what she does for a living, but she's doing it. So to come to this unique place where she's hosting plant medicine retreats. And so in the beginning, before I started the podcast, I thought, especially after interviewing Shane, the medicine server there, I thought I need to reach out to Ellen because I remember some of the things that she said to me were extremely interesting, and she'd be a great guest for the podcast. Like I said, this isn't the original beginning to the interview, so it seems a little choppy and abrupt. I'm just going to cut now to her. Basically, I had her kind of, well, tell her life's story from the beginning. So it just starts with her talking about where she's from, where she's born, where she grew up, and the conversation goes from there. So from here, I'm going to just cut to Ellen giving her life story, and hope you enjoy it.
My life, I actually was born in Nevada, raised over on the West Coast in California. I moved to the Midwest when I was 20 with my first husband. I just had my son. I'm 48 now. This was 28 years ago. Brought me out here. I basically came from, a very traumatic upbringing. I didn't know the full extent of that until I was 44 when that was revealed through plant medicine. But there was plenty of signs, and I would go to counseling. I would seek a lot of help and trying to remember, but I could never remember specifics about abuse in my life. I was just, it was always like something definitely happened to you. It looks like sexual abuse, but you don't remember anything, and I just couldn't remember anything. So my whole life I've been passionate about animals, doing dog rescue and animal rescue, and I have a rescue farm now. At some point when I was 24, I stepped into the world of exotic entertainment and became a stripper. I mentioned that just to, give people a different view on, it's an interesting topic to a lot of people and they don't understand that realm at all. I believe, for myself anyways, I think it was my sexual trauma that pulled me to traumatizing myself more or to changing that, through a different lens of being, seemingly more in control. It was always just a part-time thing for me, the stripping. So I always had a full-time job. I always, I graduated from Washington University in St. Louis with a bachelor's degree. Like I had things going on the professional angle, and then I just enjoyed the dancing and really just bringing like a lot of I brought a lot of heart and soul into my work that wasn't there. Not like a taking so much. So it was a lot more of a giving thing for me. And so it made me feel good to, bring so much happiness to parties and to people in that realm. So that was kind of my life up until up until in my, I guess, mid 30s, when the breast implants that I gotten when I was probably about 23, started getting very, very ill from them. I didn't know what it was from. So then my focus really changed to just trying to survive and just trying to make it through breast implant illness, which I didn't know I had at the time. I was in denial. So that was that's a whole journey in itself, the breast implant illness stuff. So the breast implant illness, that led me to colonics because I was trying to heal myself. I was seeing a
Hmm.
holistic doctor after holistic doctor trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I was very healthy my whole life. Always drank plenty of water, ate a very good healthy diet, usually just pescatarian, vegetarian my entire life. And just being so ill and so sick, it was very unpleasant.
Yeah.
So, and then of course having relationship after relationship fail, and just, I struggled a lot with, relationships really disappointing me. And so that was an interesting path. And basically I was married. We were in Amsterdam on a river cruise over there in Europe. I think we're hitting a lot of different countries for the tulip cruise and stuff.
Hmm.
And couldn't sleep at night, the time, how the time's off. And I was kind of on my phone and thought, well, it'd be kind of fun to spice up our life and maybe go get like a sexy massage together or something. So, and we're in like a different country where they're a lot more open-minded. I thought this might be fun. So I was looking for that. And they have it was like kind of like a back page thing or something at the time. And came across this ad for a gentleman named Constantine. And it was like, I think it was called a body de-armoring, like tantric massage or something like that. And I said, well, that sounds interesting, and it had like a lot of description about it. And me and my husband at the time, we were really struggling and suffering with our sexual connection. And it was just years of trying to figure out the sexual connection that just was not coming. And so just happened to try out this Tantra massage with Constantine. He was from the new Tantra. I highly recommend them as far as Tantra containers go that are very ethical and clear. And basically meeting him and having that massage from him, my husband did not get a massage, although he was offered it. He was panicky and I'm not ready and my stomach is bloated, but I'm really proud because, I was like, I just really feel like I need this for some reason. Like I'm blocked. I don't know. Maybe this could help. And it's a very, deep work trying to release emotions and points of trauma and energy blockages in the body. It's not just like a fun massage the whole time. It's got a lot of deep work with it, usually a lot of crying or release or energetic release. So just the container that this man held for me gave me the strength to come back. I think it was just a month later I returned to do their level 1 and 2, which is a big group thing, probably with about 35 other individuals. And that week of my life changed my life completely. I had never brought that much spirituality into my sexual life. I had never realized the connection I was missing out on. I never realized, no goals, no expectations. I was always trying to please and do the best job I could. And like, it was just a whole thing learning about, separating the roles, giver, receiver, like, let's separate these so people can relax and not have all these goals and stress and tension on them. So basically it was life changing at that point. The Tantra, it felt like 7 years of counseling in 7 days. Like it was that much of a
Really?
physical release. At one point, my heart, like absolutely I thought it was breaking open. I mean, it was in pain and I could not stop crying for hours. And it was just like, when that passed, it was like a beauty and a lightness and a freedom that I'd never experienced before. So it was a very profound shift in my life, the Tantra. And it started there at the new Tantra in the Netherlands.
So then what is Tantra? I mean, I've heard of tantric breathing. Is that what exactly is Tantra? It isn't just a word that's attached to breathing, right?
No, and commonly people associate it more with the sexual aspect, although it's that's only a very small
Yeah, I've heard
part
of
of it.
tantric sex too, I guess I'd say,
Yeah,
but I
so
thought that had to do with breathing.
it's a very wide umbrella of a way of living. I kind of like to, one way that I've described it, it's a practice of being present in like every moment of your life, to really be present, to really be there with someone, to be able to look people in the eyes, to do your dishes while being present with yourself, present with the feelings, everything that's coming up. That's just kind of my own definition of it. I'm not an
Hmm.
expert on, 80% of it. I'm more focused in on the sexual aspects of it. So I know a lot more about like that. And I work with couples and individuals, and we hold group classes sometimes as well. So beginning Tantra and what it means. And it's a whole lot more than just sex, by the way. It's
Right.
about clearing emotions from the body and releasing energy from the body and
How
connecting.
would you
No, go ahead.
how would you say that that works then? Like say in the massage, what was going on? Because you said that that week changed your life. So I'm
Well,
interested to
that
know
week
what
was
was
way
actually
more than a
going on.
massage. That week was two levels, sexual deconditioning, it's actually called. Level one and two. Level one is fully clothed, level two is fully not clothed. It's basically just challenging all the shame and all the things that have been put on us like our whole life and what we've just been raised in the culture, and just looking at it in a whole different way. There was so many exercises that were like breathing exercises, anger release exercises, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of stuff, that I had never experienced before. But they hold it so masterfully. And it's such a packed weekend that it's just, yeah, you're just a different person at the end. I can't describe like all the things that happen, but you can definitely check out their site. They're amazing group. I mean, read their ethics, read their code of conduct. They live by them. I mean, I've studied with them for
Uh-huh.
probably 8 years now, and they definitely live by these code of conducts.
Well, and if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to another thing too,
Yeah,
because I wondered that when you mentioned in your early 20s being an exotic dancer, and you'd also mentioned some childhood abuse that you weren't even sure what it was or that it had happened, but suspected that it was sexual abuse. I was going to ask you if you thought one was related to the other, and you kind of touched on that,
yeah.
that the dancing was a way of maybe reclaiming something, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, I think the dancing for me was a reclamation, and then at times it was also re-traumatizing myself. I
Really?
didn't know boundaries because um, I wasn't allowed to have boundaries growing up. I mean, as I found out, I later, I didn't know this at the time, but I'd been molested since I was an infant. So, like I didn't know boundaries. So that's one thing where I love the new Tantra. They taught me boundaries. Like it's okay to say no, no charity, don't do anything you don't want. It was beautiful. So I grew up with no boundaries, that I could present. So stripping, I think, is an easy way in because there's not, I mean, you can have some boundaries and you can put up boundaries, which can be really helpful for you. I had boundaries like, you're not touching down there. Don't slap me, different boundaries. I did group parties. So I did the club a little bit, but it was dark in there. And I said, if I can't go up totally sober, no alcohol, no marijuana. The day that I can't get up on the stage and do that, then I have to quit. And the day that I wanted a drink in order to go up, I quit. So
Yeah.
I was very firm on that because I know it can be a very slippery road into drugs and alcohol, a lot of things I didn't want to head down. But I ended up doing group parties, believe it or not, to save my rental property business when the market crashed. I got into that. And that's
Really?
a lot more light, it's people that are just there for a one time, it's not people coming believing that they're dating you or with all their sadness. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a light, like fun. But again, you're being groped a lot. And I didn't mind it. I had beautiful breasts. I mean, and I had my boundaries. But the new Tantra for me was really like a reclaiming of my boundaries. Some people go there in order to like, they've been like pent up their whole life and not been able to express their sexuality. Well, I had expressed my sexuality because I was a dancer. I got to express sexualness and sensualness, but I just didn't get to do it in a spiritual way. I didn't get to do it,
Hmm.
with God involved, with a way that was present with myself. So, um, I definitely, the dancing, I'll never regret it. I learned so much. I learned so much about men. I love men. So many wonderful people I met along the way. I'll never regret that portion. But yeah, I didn't know about my trauma. Some of it was feeding back into that, while others of it was reclaiming my power.
So when you say you didn't know about your trauma, had you blocked out some of the things that had happened to you when you were younger? Is that what you mean? Or
I did, yeah.
help me
So the
understand.
only things that I could recall is that my father used to sometimes like lay on me and I felt the bad sexual energy, but it was usually like in the living room. There was something wrong.
It was usually like what? Sorry, the wind got you on
Sorry.
that one.
It was usually like tickling, or it would start out with play and then I'd feel pinned down, and that's all I could remember, but it was always clothed. I actually used to say, like, I don't know what's so fucked up about me. Like I wake up wanting to die like my whole teenage years. For many years, I woke up just wanting to die, praying to God, kill me today, please. I don't want to live. And I was like, what is wrong with me? It's not like I've been raped or molested like other people. Yeah, my dad
Yeah.
was fucking crazy and mental and bipolar and completely unpredictable, and I couldn't trust anything. But like, at least I wasn't physically raped or abused. So that was, I guess, the story that I picked up. And it wasn't until I was 44 when I found out that that wasn't true. And boy, was that shocking, because
Yeah.
you just don't expect to uncover stuff like that when you're in your 40s.
Yeah. So then it wasn't happening through your tweens and teen years.
No,
This was
it
something
was.
that happened when
No,
it,
it was. I actually, yeah, I was able to block it out. I mean, I had, sometimes when you're abused from such a young age, you can really separate parts of yourself. And one of my therapists used to say, Ellen, you are the best at containing like these different parts of yourself, because here I was a stripper on the weekend. Here I was a professional at Bank of America in investments who graduated from a Ivy League school, and I was able to keep those so separate personalities. So it was very, it's a survival mechanism that I had to do, because how do you live? I believe that it's not revealed to you until you can handle processing it and you have the tools to do so. And I was going so hard in life, working so hard, achieving so much, that I didn't take time to slow down. I was running from it. And that's a lot of us that are working like just insane hours and really pushing it. We might be running from something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that a lot in myself. I'd say, oh, I don't think I'm running from something, but if it's possible that you can black something out so well, maybe I have. I don't think so, but to be addicted to staying busy because yes, I do feel that I'm avoiding something. I don't know what, I don't know how deep, but
Yeah,
my wife and I both constant, and I think a lot of people they just constantly stay running, and there's an addiction. That's almost like like you might reach for drugs or whatever. Staying busy is another one of those addictions. So I
absolutely.
resonate with that.
Yeah. And it doesn't
So
have to be
then you said,
molestation that you're running from. It can just be feeling or being with yourself, or, can be a lot
yeah,
of things. Yeah.
especially now when you were so used to just constant, basically amusement through our phones and social
Right.
media to have to, without something like that, it gets torturous. But
Uh-huh.
so you mentioned then it wasn't until you were 44 that you realized that you'd had this abuse. How did you come to know that?
Well, that's a fun story. So after I went to the new Tantra, I trained with Source Tantra. And at Source Tantra, I trained to become a certified Tantra educator. And that really brought in, it was great to do with the new Tantra because it really brought in the spiritual aspects and the softness of Tantra, whereas the new Tantra is a little bit more tough love and different things. So I got to balance the two out. While I was there, I met a young lady named Amelia, and she is just fabulous. She's probably 10 years younger than me, but she's like has a positive psychology company in New York. She's just a go-getter. She's inspiring. She's an immigrant. Her parents were immigrants. She's been through so much.
I have her scheduled.
That's right. Okay, okay, okay.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got her
yeah, I love
scheduled to be
that.
on in a week or two. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I met Amelia, and Amelia got into Zouk dance, which is a form of dance that's very masculine, feminine exchange, very sensual and beautiful. And she got into Zouk dance and went to a Zouk dance retreat in Mexico, in Tulum, and or that area. And she came back and was like, "Oh my gosh, like my life was just changed. Like this is." Like, I'm holding a Zoom call. Anyone that wants to hear about my experience, like, hop on. I'm going to talk about these three things: combo, bufo, ayahuasca. I was like, hell, well, first of all, anything that Amelia's doing, I'm just like, yes, I want to know, she's so amazing and inspiring. So I got on that call. I remember listening it to in my kitchen going, wow, this is crazy. And the funny thing about her, she just thought she was going for dance. She didn't know plant medicine was on the board at all. But she got there and was like, she thought she was going to say no to it. And then she ended up saying, okay, I'll just try it or whatever. And it changed her life, which thank God for her, because it changed my life. It saved my life. I would say that plant medicine has literally saved my life. So she told about the experience. Like, that sounds amazing, but, I have a lot of fear of going to Mexico, doing this, figuring this out, and plant medicine I've never done a psychedelic in my life, by the way. So I have never, until I did plant medicine, which Bufo was my first, I had never done mushrooms. I had never done any psychedelics. I didn't even smoke weed, but maybe like once a year. And I'm so sensitive to it. I made a fool of myself just laughing so hard and crying or whatever. So it wasn't really, it just happened, at family gatherings sometimes. But so Amelia, I remember we were talking on the phone, and it was only a couple months after, it was like a month after she went. And she said, Ellen, they have one in October. It's all women. It's a goddess retreat. She's like, do you want to go? Like, she's like, if you go, I will go again. And I was like, hell yes. Like, I'm just going to hang out with Amelia anyways. If she's wanting to go and she's going to be there and help guide me through this, I trust her so much. So I'm going. So that's how I ended up at my first plant medicine retreat. We actually invited quite a few of our Tantra friends. So you might have more on the books. I can't remember. I think you might have reached out a couple, but we all ended up at that goddess retreat together, which was such a beautiful experience. When the first time I found out about my abuse was when I did Bufo. Bufo's a toad medicine, and it lasts about 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. I was completely prepared to like fall in love with the universe. It was the first thing we'd done that was psychedelic. Like, Amelia was like, you're going to make love to God and like go up. And it's just the most beautiful thing I've ever felt. Feel all this love. It's like, great. I can't wait. And I go to do it. Not only is it really hard for me to breathe it in because it's something that you inhale, and I'm not good at inhaling. I never smoked or anything, but I just laid there and I could feel my body, like the part of me that was supposed to go and experience the universe or leave would not leave. And I was just like, go, like release, surrender, 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 everything that I'd learned. And instead, a curtain came across in my mind, my eyes are closed. And here I am as a young girl sitting on the lap of an angel, looking down at my body being raped by my friend's stepdad when I was 6 or 7 years old. And that like shocked the hell out of me. Because believe it or not, in my 20s, when I went through that spiritual awakening, I've forgiven him. I just thought I hated him and was so scared of him because he had slapped me on the leg once. I literally thought that's what it was. And he was like a Marine. He was very tough. Like, I was scared of him, and that's what I thought it was. We were even friends on Facebook because I had no idea. And when I was shown it, it was so lovingly because I was not shown the pain of it. I was shown that I'm sitting here in the lap of an angel to the side, watching my body, which had been drugged, by the way. I had been forced to drink some medicine, and I'm watching my body being raped. And I realized I didn't want to leave my body to go up because when I left my body, I felt I felt very upset that I abandoned my body. And I was over here when my body was being raped, if that makes sense. So it was like a part of me that escaped the feelings of the rape or whatever it was that was over here, did not want to leave and abandon my body now because I didn't even know this information. Obviously, I was very disturbed by it. I mean, I had a really hard time accepting. I was like, Ellen, like, if you're making this shit up, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is wrong. Like, you can't just put this out there. You never even thought this in your life. But the weirdest thing is, anytime you're with plant medicine and something's true, grandmother or plant medicine or spirit or God will give you all the supporting details. And they came in and it was like, yes, I always knew that I was taken to a house and that house scared me so much and it had such dark energy and I never knew why, but I still remembered it. I still would remember it a couple times a year. I would remember that I'd been in a house. I still couldn't figure out why. I'd been put in a room by myself. And like, that's all I could remember. And I just thought maybe it was just, no sunlight, bad energy. Maybe there's spirits there or something. And then it was like more dropped in. I remembered at that same time, I started crying every night. All my fear came up. I couldn't sleep. My mom thought it was my teacher because that's the only thing maybe I could think of when she talked to me about it. So she moved me teachers at my school, thinking that that's what was wrong with me at night, that I was just crying all the time and that I had so much fear. So it was really like a shock, number one. But I will say that if it's a true thing, spirit will give you the supporting details in your life. There was many things that I started to remember and then they made sense. Like, yes, okay, now that makes sense. why suddenly I changed into this. And now it makes sense why I was so scared of this man that I was crying when he would come over. I would hide behind my mom's leg and beg for her not to make me go play with his daughter, you know? So it was like a lot of things started like dropping in.
So when you were having that vision on Bufo of you sitting with the angel, was that from a third person point of view? Like you were watching your young self sit with this angel, or were you the young self?
I was the young self at that. I was the young
Okay,
self. Yeah.
the reason I asked was because you said you felt, I guess, guilty for abandoning your body in that time, and then during the
Yeah.
Bufo, you couldn't release because you felt guilty again.
Yeah.
So, do you think that you were, what do they call it, disassociating with you? Were you leaving your body during those
Yeah.
traumatic times then?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
thinking back, well, I left it then, and
Right.
look what happened to it, so I'm not leaving it now.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And everything was meant to be. I mean, starting to uncover that is what, started my healing and started everything, just to find that out and to understand what has happened to your body. It's very difficult, not to say it wasn't difficult, but it's also very healing, like it's really nice when you get the rest of the picture that you don't know about, in your life.
Yeah, and you, since you said meant to be, I want to bring this up too because I
Yeah.
remember having a conversation with you at the retreat about that because I'd asked because of that book in your office again. I've already forgotten the name of it,
Your soul's plan.
but your soul's, I'm writing it down right now. Your
Yeah,
soul's
yeah, no,
plan.
that's okay. Your soul's plan. I think it's Richard Schwartz, if I remember correctly.
Okay, I asked you because of that, because, I've been into near-death experiences forever and read Neil Donald Walsh's books and familiar with Dolores Cannon and these concepts that souls plan their lives to a certain extent. You have a blueprint that, you got certain milestones you're going to hit, certain things are going to happen to you, but along the way, you have your free will as to how you meander down the path. So, from a soul's perspective, they might choose to be in a situation like the one that you had for whatever reason that a soul would choose to do something like that in
Yeah,
order to, in general, to expand. And you'd said that not only did you, in a sense, feel that you might have chosen that, but you said that in a past life, you yourself was an abuser, and that might have been a way for you to atone for that abuse.
yeah,
Is that,
yeah, yeah. No,
did you
that is
tell me
true.
that?
I did tell you that.
Can you go into
I
that a
saw it.
little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I absolutely believe, it's hard when you're starting out on the spiritual path to take responsibility for some of that and like what's happened and not see it as a curse but to see it as a gift. All of the rape, molestation, abuse that's happened to me, I absolutely am in a place where I see it as such a gift and it's now my superpower. Okay. I couldn't hold the kind of space that I hold for people in the Tantra in these deep spaces if I hadn't been in that, those sexual spaces and been through a lot of this trauma and transcended it. And it's true at actually back at in Mexico, I did some mushrooms. They didn't kick in for like 8 hours. They kicked in on the massage table. And suddenly I
Wow.
saw like a couple past lives. And one of them was I was a male and I was molesting my daughter. And that was like horrifying to see, but I did see that and I was like, yeah, yeah, I don't know why things happen, but I mean, everything I believe happens for a reason, and I don't think we need to spend like our whole life trying to figure it out. It's just like acknowledge it, thank it, accept it, and work with it.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the most powerful things of conclusions a person can come to along the path is, first of all, this idea that you have chosen to be here. When that really sinks in, and because then you're no longer really a victim. And then what comes after that is this idea that these things that have happened to you, well, you not only did you choose to be here, you've chosen certain things to happen. You're not a victim anymore. These things are happening for you, not
Yeah.
to you. And I know that can be triggering and hard to hear, and I'm not in a real position to say that because not a whole lot has happened to me, but you have that almost, your words are more powerful because you've lived it and you're still saying it. You're still showing that a person can still come to that conclusion.
Yes.
And it's not just lip service. It's not just glib stuff. And even then, it still might be triggering because it's happened to some people, and they might be saying, "Well, no way. There's no way I'd have ever chosen that. This happened to me, and I'm the victim." And it's just possible that it's not that way. I mean, we're eternal, indestructible souls, and this human experience is heavy and can be heavy and extremely difficult and terrible and horrible. But in the end, you can choose to, like you have, see it as something that's giving you power to hold space for others. Is one way of looking at it and one way to use it. And I just think that's beautiful. So I
Yeah,
wanted to make
what
sure
you
to hit
said
on
with
that. So
choosing, that's the big thing. We're given free will. We can definitely choose to to align with the victimization of it. We can choose to align with trying to save other people, or being, the bad guy or being the victim. But I choose, personal responsibility, power, and freedom from that. And it's from feeling like a victim to feeling like how I do now is so much more empowering and so much more free. And I can do so much more good work in the world.
And you truly feel as though you've healed from it all, or do you still have any residual angst, anger, pain?
I would never say what I think about plant medicine is when you say, whenever someone thinks I'm good, I'm healed, I don't need anymore, that to me is a big trigger of what are you hiding from? You've got to go back. I hold myself to that. So when I start to feel like I'm good, I've done so much work, like I can just lay off, I'm good now. It's never been true for me. I say that's my sign that you need to go back and do some more work because there's more to uncover. All my teachers always spoke of it, healing as like peeling the layers of an onion. And there's just so many
Mhm.
layers of healing. I mean, I used to think you would get to a place in life where you were good and you didn't need to do anymore. I don't believe that anymore. I think that the purpose and why we're alive, we continue to do the work all the time up until you die. And if you stop doing the work, you die earlier, in my opinion, most likely. I mean, that's what it showed that I would have done. I mean, my choice when I chose to go to that plant medicine retreat, I was shown that that was choosing my life. Had I not chosen that, my agreement with my pre-birth planning was that I would pass away at a younger age. I would be dead
Mhm.
by now. I would have died. And it even, kind of revealed to me some details, which totally made sense. But I would be dead had I not chosen to do my work because my point here would have been missed. The purpose that I came for if I did not start doing that work would not be unfolding. I would not be here holding retreats. I would not be here, supporting people in the work and doing the work beside them. And so that was really, important for me. It's just you're never there. You're always uncovering. You can take breaks, you
Yeah.
can relax, you can let it integrate, all that, and then come back to it. There's more for every single person.
And your first experience was Bufo with plant
Yes.
medicine. Because I've never done it, but it sounds more like a rocket ship than anything.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah. That's what they
you
describe it
said it
as.
was, yeah, you said it was toad medicine. But for those who are listening and have never heard of Bufo, it's a glandular secretion from this toad, right? That's
Yeah.
dried, crystallized, and then smoked. Yeah, old medicine, but extremely profound and described, at least to me, from I've only seen documentaries and read accounts, as being shot out of your body, sometimes straight to the heart of the universe, or as Amelia might have described it, she said you're making love to God. And those words are like, well, what does that mean? Well, it's probably because it's indescribable.
It
So
is.
your words are going to fall short. But for me, I'm like, well, I want to know what that's like. So I've always been pulled towards this. I've always been drawn to plant medicine, and I had, like I said, a profound experience at your retreat. But if a person's if you're listening and you feel not sure whether you should do it, if you're extremely interested and feel called to do it, then you're probably being called. I would say I didn't feel like I had some deep and profound trauma to heal. Just, I'm like, why does this keep coming up? Why have I been semi-obsessed with it for 20 years? And finally, I guess when the time was right, like I said, I met you and it came up on its own. I went to accompany my wife. I had no plans of anything. And then here we are now talking. I never would have dreamed, not only would, we'd have the ceremony, but now we're having this interview, that a podcast came of it. And I attribute that somewhat to the ayahuasca retreat in terms of facing things that make you uncomfortable and just getting expansive and saying yes to things. And that's the kind of thing that plant medicine has given to me. And
Absolutely.
yours had nothing to compare it to, but it was amazing. It was lovely. I would recommend it to anyone. The
Thank you
space,
so much.
the land. I kind of told this story somewhat when I interviewed Shane, but one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I want to go back and feel, even though I have felt it since then in just day-to-day life, was when we did that first ceremony after the rapé, which for those listening, rapé is the, say the masculine counterpart to the feminine ayahuasca. It's a tobacco that's blown through your nasal cavities, and it's very grounding. It's uncomfortable and it sat me right down. But so I was sat down and floored by this rapé, and everybody had gone through it and everybody had been served that. And I think we probably had been served our first glass of ayahuasca. And once the people had all sat, I just felt this, as the only way I can describe it, this blanket of sacredness settle over that meadow. And I'm like, I've never experienced anything that I would use the word sacred for and truly mean it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'm like, I want to go back. But like I said, I have had moments since then. I realize it's just like now that you've described Tantra to me, you feel that when you're present, when you're truly present and in the moment, some of that sacredness, I know that I can touch on that anytime I want.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't until ayahuasca that I'm like, now I recognize it because I got
Mhm.
that sustained touch. I was in there for quite a while. But so the Bufo showed you that, and you never did. So you didn't go anywhere like that people describe where you got to go to the heart of the universe or make love to God. You were shown something that happened to you when you were younger,
Yep.
and then that led to more healing and opening things up. So then after that, since then you've said you've done like 20 or some,
I
at
think I
least
just
plant medicine,
completed my 20th
which was
yesterday.
just 2 days
Or
ago, right? Yesterday.
just like it was Sunday. I completed my 20th on Sunday. Yeah, I'll just mention that. So that happened. My ayahuasca after that was life changing, but for my body, like healing so many things in my body. I thought I was dying too during it. I mean, it was a long one. It lasted way longer than than everyone else, but no trauma and stuff came up during that. Besides, it went through every cell of my body and just cleaned and released, and it was intense. My body, that was the most intense body one I've ever had. But a year and a half ago, I was in Florida at Great Spirit Farm, which I also highly recommend. And the one in Mexico is called Marie Marie Tulum. It's Shawnee. But anyways, I can send you some links so maybe you can add some things in there. But because these are just such wonderful places that are so trustworthy. So I was in Florida and I was actually with my son. We were doing a 7 day. It was all in silence. And that's the retreat where I uncovered way more details on that. And then all the details on my father and my uncle and my cousin. Like, she spaced it out. I didn't like get everything about my abuse like that day. She gave me like a taste of, oh, this has happened. Let me like adjust to that. And then more was revealed later. And it was a profound shift to find out the truth about everything. And now I've done it 20 times. Each time that I do it, I continue to heal stuff. This weekend, I was able to work on, obviously with what I've been through, I've never could trust men. I could never trust the masculine because I'd been so let down, so many times. And I can't, and I love the masculine. So it's not that I don't love men. I just don't trust that they would have my best interest or that they would stand up or take care of me or something. And this weekend I was able to release all that, and she really showed me like it's a choice, like for all of us. Like trust is a choice. No matter what has happened to you, you can choose to trust again. And the more that you choose to trust and the more that you grow and learn, it shapes and changes the people around you, and it brings in more trust, the more trust that you extend. Now, not being stupid with your trust and like, obviously being discerning and having good boundaries, but I was able to really make that choice to trust the masculine, and I got to feel what it felt like carrying the distrust in my body. She made me go through that, and that is horrible. It felt horrible, and I've been walking around with some of this horribleness, in my heart, and built up walls that I had to sledgehammer down in my heart, and in my abdomen. And so it was really a beautiful experience. And each time that you work, it doesn't have to be, my experiences sound profound to people, but I find profound in simple things. So learning that I can trust the masculine again, or that trust is a choice, and that, I'm going to live or die either way. Which way do I want to be? Do I want to feel awful the whole time and not extend this trust, or do I want to trust again? And I believe we came here to forgive, to trust, to continue to heal, put our heart back together. And each time it's stronger, it's bigger, it can hold even more. So yeah, that was it was a beautiful eye for me.
How do you, because you said it made you feel what it was like to be carrying that. Could you describe how, because
Yeah.
you just didn't notice that you were carrying distress?
No, I mean, I knew I was, but I didn't. In Aya, you really get a glimpse because we keep ourselves busy, right? So I'm pushing back the feelings of what it is carrying distrust. I've got a lot to do. Like I'm out doing stuff. I'm not sitting with those emotions and feelings. She really makes you sit down and be with them. And
Uh,
it's horrible. It can be terrifying. It can be absolutely terrifying. Like, and I mean, I purged and had just awful. I was so loud too, which I'm usually not that loud, so it was embarrassing. I was the really loud one in the group, processing and doing all this stuff all night. But yeah, she will let you feel what it feels like for different things. I mean, that's not the only thing she's let me feel. I mean, you will feel, she'll call you out on the things that you don't want to acknowledge about yourself, the places where you're not in alignment, you're not being ethical, the areas that you're still selfish in. I mean, and it doesn't feel good when you get to feel what that feels like. And it's
Mhm.
a, it feels more than you would normally, but that's only because we cover that, alcohol or food or social events or busy, 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 to keep
Yeah.
that shoved down.
It sounds like that's the way you're putting, I like the way you're putting it because very familiar with the life review and a near-death experience, and it's almost like ayahuasca will give you this, at least like on the emotional level, an emotional life review of all the things it's like you've been ignoring or,
Yeah,
numbing, holding on to that you can let go. And I just feel like a lot of people, so many, especially in America, that busyness to stay numb to how they feel, to sit with the feeling. And it's so easy to, well, I'm busy, I got kids. I say it all the time, like the last three ceremonies you've had, I haven't been able to go to. I mean, it's things like birthday parties and graduations and stuff like that. And I'm never going, but there's always something there's always going to be something. And you even said that too. It's like at some point you'll have to, in a sense, prioritize yourself. And that's also good for your kids to see too. You putting yourself first, taking care of yourself.
yeah,
So I think a lot of us have that lesson to learn, how to balance that out. And it's
yeah.
so good for that.
Well, we have on the books with Shane already in October. I think it's 24th, 25th, 26th. We're going to do another two sitting ceremony. And
October.
then also next May, I think it's like maybe 17th, 18th, 19th or something. But I started an Instagram page finally, Sacred, Safe, Simple. And I'm posting when our dates are for the Aya on there. And we actually have
Okay,
Wachuma,
good.
I believe, coming through for us soon, which is San Pedro.
What,
Wachuma. It's
what is
cactus
that?
medicine. So that's a Native American. I mean, that's a very long standing, especially in America, very special medicine. And so we have a facilitator who's from Peru, actually, that we've been starting to talk to about bringing that over. We had combo at our last ayahuasca, which was amazing. So many people did it, and so many people got powerful experiences
This
from.
past weekend?
Yeah, and we will be bringing Bufo too, so don't worry.
Okay, what'd you say about Bufo? The wind cut you out. What
We'll
was
be
that?
bringing Bufo. Bufo will be coming as well.
Okay. In October?
I don't know. I'll ask because I think Shane,
Okay.
if I remember correctly, he used to serve Bufo all the time, and
He
he's
said
like,
he
I
did. I
can totally
asked him
do that.
about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
So
was saying though that he was saying he would never serve that along with Aya. I'd asked him about that. It wasn't a good idea.
it would have to be, yeah, it's normal. Well, I don't know. I think I just talked to him a little bit about that. I'm not sure, but he was wanting to plan like a 5 day where we cook our own Aya.
Hmm.
Everyone cooks it and like gets really into it. And so something like a 5 day is where you can definitely space out combo, bufo, Aya, cold plunge, sound bath, whatever,
Hmm.
you put everything together. So probably something like that with the 5 day will be coming up where it'll be a longer experience.
Okay. So because October, I think you had another one in October. It was canceled though,
Yeah, but now we
but it
have
was probably,
inside facilities, and we also
yeah.
have this beautiful deck, which if you remember Brent, it was his first time at the ceremony as well. Remember Brent was
Yeah.
yep. So he is building a beautiful deck out here under grandfather tree over the lake. I mean, so we have a lot more options now, so it's making it a lot easier to follow through on those.
Because I feel like that'd be important to note for anybody who's concerned with that. I know my wife was too. She's not one that likes to rough it. I as much as I wanted her to be there, I'm like, I don't think you'd want to just sleep on the ground. Although that was my favorite part too, sleeping out in that open meadow and waking up. What to do with the grass. I can't not smile when I think about it. That was another sacred moment
Yeah,
to have breathed that air all night long. And that was I don't know if you remember when I was there, that was June, it was a heat wave. It was a scorcher. But the nights were so comfortable, so
right.
beautiful. It was when I saw pictures of your guys' last retreat, it was very kind of made my heart ache a little bit. But
Jake, what would
again,
you say was your biggest takeaway from your first Aya experience?
my biggest takeaway was how it could help me communicate with myself. But I say that because I already, let's say, was familiar with these words that it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I got to experience the truth of it's fine that you're uncomfortable. You can sit in this discomfort and there's nothing wrong with that. And it was that contrast too, that when it had subsided and I came out of it, the freshness that I felt was so pronounced. I felt so clean and I'd say healed, but it was like you said, it was almost like that weekend for me was, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around now. I mentioned my wife's parasite cleanse. It was just how I met you. I had done a shortened version of that parasite cleanse before. So I
Mm.
had been fasting and eating very clean. And then we had a diet before the ceremony too. But when I got there, I mean, it ran through me. I felt like I was the loud one, or at least the one who was vomiting the longest in that ceremony, because there was one day where I missed integration. The last day, I didn't even do integration. I couldn't quit puking. But I felt so clean and so vibrant from the inside out that it was, for me, it was just more about what it actually felt like to be clean, to have clean energy. But I got that. I really got to, I was laying there and I described this in one of the integrations, laying there sick for, I don't know, it could have been hours, who knows, but I had been puking and I noticed my breathing at one point. I told this story in that first episode and my mind was totally shut off. My internal dialogue had totally stopped. And the only reason I knew that was because a thought had finally come up. And I'm like, wow, I haven't had a thought in a while. And that thought was that just breathe, because I noticed my breathing. It was like a dying animal with really short inhalations and really long exhalations. And I'd watched animals die before. And so I focused on my breathing and I kind of got a handle on my breathing. And the thought came in, just breathe. All you have to do is breathe. But for me, when I was on ayahuasca, every thought just hit more deeply. So to me, it was saying the rest of your life, when you're in these uncomfortable moments, they will pass. And all you ever have to do is breathe. Breathe and just let this experience flow. Don't try to control it. Don't try to stop it. Don't resist. And that served me, it still serves me, because you can hear these things, and you hear them so much, they become trite and they're cliche, but they're cliche for a reason, and they really do, they're the truths. Those small things really are the truths, things that you hear all the time, and I just feel lucky to have experienced it as true. So I got to experience those things like that. Back to the vomiting, the last day when I missed integration, I was down on all fours and I was vomiting up on the ground. It was daytime, so I could see what was going on. And I'd noticed an earthworm crawling away. And at first I thought there's like 12 acres of grass out here. And I picked the one spot where me and this worm are having this little interaction. And that was the first thought. But the second thought was, oh, the reason this worm's crawling is because I'm spewing bile up in the ground and he's probably trying to get away from it for all. And like, I just affected this worm's life. Will it have memory of this? Will it remember that time where the stuff came spewing down or whatever? Am I the reason that it's taking the path that it's taking right now? So I was thinking about how we really are, whether or not the worm was thinking that or not, or experiencing that. I'm like, I felt and know our connection really is that profound and deep. When I was driving home on the interstate, I was thinking about all the things that live under the ground underneath this road and the vibrations that they must be feeling continually, as they go under the ground, move away from the interstate, and just thinking every step you take and thing that you do can be affecting something. Just like, the butterfly flapping his wings and causing a herd of reindeer to run up in the North Pole or whatever. But that really hit. Like it really is that way. I'm sure of it. And that was beautiful. And it was things like that a person can hear those stories and like, oh yeah, that's great. You were just high on drugs, but it really isn't. That's really not what's going on. You're just put in a space to feel things more deeply. Your own internal state and how you're connected to the earth. Whenever I do any plant medicine, it's that deep connection with the planet is what really settles in and what a lot of times I'm really missing. Mushrooms do that for me profoundly. It's like there's like a heaviness that comes down, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just get kind of floored down into my experience, and I'm always out in nature when I do them. And I just feel so deeply rooted, I guess. And I get twice now, I've had this, it feels like a downpouring of masculine energy. And I was going to ask you, when you say feminine and masculine, for people to understand, what do you mean by that? But I know what it means to me. It is the exact feeling that I used to feel when I was around my dad when I was little. The energy that was coming off him and the safety that I felt and the trust that I felt and my certainty in his certainty and the power of it and the strength of it. that was pouring down into me. And I had just had kids at this time. And it also communicated to me, now you're this energy now,
Beautiful.
someone and something else. But I
Yeah.
got to feel it as though it wasn't mine. It was like, listen, remember this? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I missed it. It's beautiful. And it's like, this is you now. So it was strange because that was something I'd never heard of or expected. You know, the trees breathing and all that in the visuals and certain emotional things. But having that come up twice, it's like, okay, something's up with that.
Pay
And so that's
attention.
important to me to kind of remember that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it was. Are there any other things that over the course of 20 retreats that really stand out as profound insights or experiences that you think people would benefit from hearing or that might resonate with others?
There's so many amazing things. Just recently this year, really the message of when you cannot, you can. Like she just kept saying, when you think you cannot, you can. Even when you're on Aya, when you think you can't get up and walk to the bathroom by yourself, you actually can. When you think you cannot sit up and get that water, you can. And so that's kind of been translating in my life and changing the things that I was putting, I cannot, or, putting walls up on. Craziest, like weirdest thing that just happened this year back in Mexico with my family there was Jesus Christ himself coming to me. And I had been very religious growing up, and we had a very religious family, but it was very hypocritical, right? Because here we are being
Yeah.
abused, but we go to church twice a week. My father's very into God, like this stuff. And of course my father, he was abused. I'm here to stop the buck, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm here to change my lineage line and make sure we don't continue forward like this, let's get the healing that we need. But so I had a close relationship with Jesus. I invited him into my heart when I was young. I probably walked away from him in my teens, but not in a sense like I still thought I was connected. I still loved Jesus. I still believed in him, still prayed. But really, like, him coming back just a couple months ago and just calling me back and saying, come back. It was pretty wild because I'm like, what? Wait, but I don't agree with like some of this stuff and all this the church has put out. Like I'm like how and I'm still sorting through it all, but he said he would show me the way of who he truly is. But that's been a big shift, and I feel like what he really told me there is like the biggest lie is that we can do it without God or without Jesus, that we have all the power within us. And some of those new age concepts of all the power within us and all that, and he's like, you can do it by yourself. It's going to be a lot less fun, it's going to be a lot more struggle, it's going to be a lot more efforting, like he's like, or if you want to do it with me, like it can be, not to say that life is going to be easier, but you have an ally, you have help, and a lot of times we just don't want to ask for help. We just think we can do it ourselves. And so that's been an interesting revelation, him coming back and realizing that what he really said to me is, and maybe I'll understand it further as I go on. Like I said, this is kind of new to me this year, and I'm still like understanding what he means by all of this. But you're either serving, you're definitely going to serve a master in life. So you're either serving Christ, Jesus, God, or you're serving darkness. If you don't realize that you need to have a daily practice with him, you need to have a daily relationship with him, you need to develop it. It's not just calling him, when you need it once a week or anything like that. So that's been a new revelation because I was very spiritual, believe in God, believe in Jesus, but just having him come back and say that. And then he also really showed me, and he's such a funny guy, by the way. I hung out with him for like a week there or more. He was there the whole time. We did 3 Aya sittings and we were doing a dieta, and he's hilarious. He's like, don't take things so seriously. Life is not that serious. It's really cute when you're being so serious over there or taking all these situations so seriously. He's super funny, like, and comical, but he really showed me that any fear is feeding the darkness, feeding Satan, feeding the devil, like that we generate. So like, I didn't trust pharmaceuticals. And during that thing, it was like, you need thyroid medicine. I was like, what? It's like, I don't trust like them. Like, they're like, yes, there are good people in the pharmaceuticals creating really important things. And you need this thing. So I'm on thyroid medicine for the first time, which has definitely given me more energy. I'm so glad that I got that message because I didn't know. It sounds like that it's awful where the doctor was saying it, but when I went to the doctor, she's like, yeah, you need to be higher or whatever it was. It's just any fear that you generate, whether it's about other people's politics or presidential things or any kind of fear, like anytime you're generating that fear, that's exactly what the darkness wants. That's what keeps them
Mm.
alive. That's what feeds them. So just to be really aware of not generating any fear and really just trusting in God, trusting in Jesus and leaning, not to my own understanding, having faith. So that was pretty fun.
So, and I'm always curious about that. When you say you were with him, were you seeing Jesus, or were these just impressions that you had in a different way, more like telepathic downloads, I guess, in a sense? Or how did that what was that experience like?
I was seeing him. I was having conversations with them. I mean, he would chime in. Grandmother was there too, so it was the two of them for that whole time. So it was pretty funny. And for me, that was him coming back into my life was a major thing. I could feel, and I knew, and I got messages that like something major is going to happen in this ayahuasca, week. Like something really big. Like your life is really going to change. And I never for once thought it was Jesus coming back into my heart. Right? I was just like, okay, like does this mean I'm gonna like change what I want to do, or I'm gonna be a whole different person, or I'm gonna have special gifts that I don't have now? And it really had to prepare me just because I didn't realize how much I had, distanced myself, how much I had distanced myself from the help and from Jesus. But I got to
Mhm.
see him. I mean, I saw him, I felt him, he was there with me, and I had to do things on my own too, though. Like, I've never made myself vomit. And all my plant medicines and trying to be bulimic when I was younger. I could never do it. I could never get my fingers back. And in that one, they said, look, like you have to vomit out this darkness and these lies that you've been buying into, that you don't need God, that you have power within, that you can handle everything on your own, or and the different things. They said, you're going to have to make yourself throw it up. And you're going to have to claim that for yourself. And that was really difficult. That is not something that I'm able to do. And I never knew that there was things back in your throat that you could touch that are like different feeling things down there. And he didn't just let me do it once. I had to do it like 3 times. It was like in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. And it was like I had to do 3 big gags until I started, and I had to really, really fight for I think ayahuasca for me, it's really like a choice, but sometimes you really have to fight for yourself, because the easier choice is not to to expel the things. Expelling is discomfort. Expelling is awful. Expelling takes a lot of effort. Just suffering and misery and a low level suffering is a lot easier, in some respect, than really claiming your power and claiming, no, I don't fucking care. Like, you're going to get the fuck out of me. Like, I'm claiming my body back. I'm claiming this stuff back. So it's been a lot of like fighting for myself in ayahuasca for my healing. You really have to fight. And we saw that this weekend. So many people wanted to leave. We had one person did leave. 2 people didn't make it for integration.
Really?
2 people left early. Like, the medicine was so powerful this time, Jake. I can't wait for you to experience it again. I don't know if it's the land. I mean, it was powerful before, but I'm telling you, it's doubled. It's doubled in power for everybody. And really, people get scared, and it's like you really got to commit. Like, even if you're too scared to do the medicine again, like stay in the group, stay with us. Like, you do everyone a disservice when you leave early. Your absence is felt. Like, you're a thread in this, and that wasn't conveyed well this time. So of course, I'm learning. I'm gonna do things differently, hold it differently, ask people to commit differently. I'm not perfect by any means at all, and I'm just in the learning process. So just trying to figure out, what can we do to inspire people to fight for themselves more, to stay, even though they hate it, or they think they got enough, or I'm good, I got everything I needed. So important to stay in the container. The container with Aya is so important to stay within, because when you leave out half of the chapter. The other chapter, you don't get to know what it is. You're the other half of the book or whatever. Like, you don't get to know what she had planned, especially if you sign up for 2. You commit to both of them, because if you don't, you're leaving a bunch on the table, and you're going to feel very disoriented. It's going to be very hard to integrate. You left the second half of the play without seeing it. So there's that.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of everyone in ours, because we did 3, and I know that was hard, and everybody's stuck in there. And that last day almost killed me as well.
Well, you mentioned something too that I got that I didn't realize until you said it. It's like when you do leave, it is felt, or it would have been felt. I could see how it would have been felt, because the connection that I felt with everybody by staying, I still feel a connection to. It's like I was telling that to my wife. It's like there's like almost like the camaraderie that I hear soldiers describe after going through battle together or something. No, but it didn't. It was different than that. But it was just like I was about to leave that ceremony. Me and another lady were talking about like because I thought we were going to have to wake up the next day and do it first thing. I'm like, I can't go from that night and wake up and drink that and do that again. We waited till the afternoon. That helped. But you came in, and I wasn't telling you anything about this. You happened to come in and basically say what you just said. It's like, if you're thinking about leaving, as though you were reading our minds, I recommend you don't, because you're leaving so much on the table. You came here to do this and you need to see it through. Because I hadn't said anything to you, I'm like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. I felt like you were a vessel for something speaking through you to me. I'm like, you were talking to me and her. I think she stayed too. I'm pretty sure she
Yeah,
stayed too. Yeah,
everyone
because
stayed.
everybody stayed. We were definitely like, I was certain I'm not doing it again. I can't. And that third day was rough. That was a rough day.
That was a rough day.
But yeah. But like I said, and I first got home to tell my mom about it, and it took me an hour because I wanted to tell every detail because everything seemed significant.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to get started here. I'll go on for an hour, but I told them it was brutal. I'm like, and I mean this word completely literally. It was brutal, and I said I'm already ready to go back though. I mean, it's that weird dichotomous space that I guess like when women have children, I mean that's pretty brutal, but after a while they want to do it again, sometimes immediately, and just one of those beautifully brutal things that are worthwhile. So
It's
yeah,
totally
I'm
true.
so
I agree with you.
but let's do this. I think we're at a good place to kind of stop, and I know there's more to say, but if people want to contact you, because we only know your name is Ellen, what's the best way they can reach out to you if they're interested in going to one of these October and then
So yeah, there's a website. It's called Safe Ceremonies, and we're listed on there as Sacred, Safe, Simple Ceremonies, SSS. So if you just type in SSS, you'll find us. We're in the St. Louis, Missouri area. We also have the Instagram, which I think is Safe Sacred. I really should like remember what order the words are, but hopefully you'll post links or something on the
uh,
podcast. But I think it's
yeah, we'll
Safe,
get that.
Sacred, Simple or something on Instagram that I just started where we're posting our date. But yeah, you'll be able, if you're meant to find us, you'll find us. Safe Ceremonies, type in SSS, and you should find the Safe, Sacred, Simple Ceremonies. There's reviews on there. Um, and there's some information, but that's where my email address is, and you can contact me through that way or through the Instagram email. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll
Well,
hook you up with the
before you,
medicine server, which is where you would do an interview with him. Yeah, with Shane,
right,
who's phenomenal, by the
right.
way.
I
He
guess
brought all the
I
good
was
stuff.
thinking about that. Yeah, before we go, for those who may be interested and are thinking about doing this, that was something that really spoke loudly to me. The fact that there was a pre-interview, that you guys were screening the people that were going to be coming in. This wasn't just like, hey guys, get them all in. Like there's some sort of money grab or something. I don't think you make much. This isn't about money, and it wasn't just like get as many people in here as you can, and we're just here for thrills and kicks. It was like not in you're not just allowed in basically um because you want to be there for a thrill. And I liked that I got to get a sense of Shane, because honestly at first when I first saw him, if he's listening, sorry Shane, but I judged him. I did a little flash judgment, like, oh, here, this dude looks like he wants to be a shaman, with the dreads or whatever. I'm like, is he legit? Is he for real? Or does he just he likes the aesthetic and he wants to look the part? I was absolutely wrong. I love the guy, and I would, like I said, recommend yours and his ceremonies to anyone who's interested in this. And um, safe, and the space that you guys hold is perfect. And I miss it. When I think about it, I just miss it.
We
I'm
can't
ready
wait
to
to
go
have you
back.
back. I know you're going to be here soon. Yeah.
Yes, October sounds good to me, but
Yeah. And
we'll
hopefully you're going to
see
come out for one of our little private ones. I'll hit you up on when those are, but there's a couple private ones that we'd love to see you at. Um,
for sure.
Not ayahuasca, but yeah, just to have you back in the family, with everyone. Be beautiful. But yeah, no,
I'm
Shane,
sure though
we call him a shaman. He's a medicine server or a server of the medicine
right.
or whatever. But yeah, I think it's so important to have that conversation with him because you really want to trust who's serving you the medicine. It's so important. I know a lot of people that, come that know me, they trust me, so they trust that. But a lot of people don't know me, so they don't know that they could trust me. And that interview and Shane requires it to be on camera. Like, he wants to see you. He wants you to see him. He wants to really know that you're a good fit and that, that you feel comfortable and safe. And we're just so blessed and honored to have made that connection with him, to be able to bring it to the Midwest. It's so important. It's, a lot of
Yeah.
people can't afford to travel states over or countries over to go experience this healing, and this awakening and this love and this, diving into your shadows. So I love that Shane's willing to come out here and bring the medicine and hold space out here for us. It means a lot to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Ellen, thank you for doing
Thank you,
this.
Jake. And I'm just so happy with what you have done with your podcast. And I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. And it brings so much joy to my heart when you started this. I remember when you told me you're going to do it, and then bam, dude, you did it. A lot of people say they're going to do something after a ceremony, and you did it. I was so like inspired by that. Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you go for this time.
Yeah,
And as experiences unfold with you, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you, we might do it again if you're open to it.
absolutely. Thank you, Jake. And thank
Okay.
you to your audience.
All right. You're welcome.
All right.
Yes. And I'll talk to you later.